Hi, I'm Catalina. I'm a registered nurse working night shifts at Memorial Hospital. For 12 years, I sent money home every month, paid Dad's mortgage, covered his medical bills, made sure he never went without. But the day he died, I learned exactly what my sacrifices were worth. The attorney's office smelled like old leather and expensive wood polish. I sat in one of those chairs that's supposed to make you feel important, but just makes you feel small. My sister Estella sat next to me, her hands folded perfectly in her lap like she was posing for a portrait. She'd flown in from Phoenix 2 days after Dad passed. I'd been there for 3 weeks, handling everything: the funeral home, the flowers, the endless paperwork that comes with death. Mr. Harrison, Dad's attorney, adjusted his reading glasses and cleared his throat. That's when I knew. You don't clear your throat before good news? Your father was very specific about his wishes, he began, his voice careful and measured. He wanted to ensure that his estate went to the daughter who truly understood what it meant to be present. Estella's hand found mine. I thought it was solidarity. I was wrong. I leave my entire estate, the house at 4782 Maple Drive, my savings accounts, investment portfolios, and all personal property, to my daughter Estella Maria Alvarez, who has always been by my side. The words hit like ice water. My entire estate, all personal property, to Estella. Mr. Harrison kept reading, but I stopped hearing. The room tilted slightly. 12 years of wire transfers. 12 years of, "Thanks, Mija, you're saving my life." 12 years of choosing double shifts so I could send an extra $300 when the water heater broke or the car needed new tires. Gone, erased, like they never happened. "There's one more thing," Mr. Harrison said, and he pressed a button on a small recording device. Dad's voice filled the room, that raspy wheeze he'd developed after the pneumonia last winter. "Estella, Mija, this house is yours. You earned it. You stayed. You cared. Catalina." She sent checks. That's not the same as being there when it matters. I felt Estella's hand tighten on mine. When I looked at her, she wasn't surprised. Her eyes were dry. She'd known. Maybe not the specifics, but she'd known she was getting everything. "Catalina," Mr. Harrison said gently, "your father left you his collection of vintage tools and his pickup truck. Both are in the garage." Tools. A truck with 180,000 miles on it. That was my inheritance for 12 years of keeping him alive. Before I tell you what happened next, if you've ever been the one who sacrificed everything only to be told it wasn't enough, stick with me. Because this story doesn't end with me walking away quietly. I promise, by the end, you'll see exactly how just sending checks can teach someone a very expensive lesson. The funeral had been 3 days earlier. I'd paid for that too, though nobody seemed to remember. Now, standing in the parking lot outside the attorney's office, Estella finally spoke. "Kat, I know this is hard." "Do you?" I turned to face her. "Do you know what it's like to work 16-hour shifts so you can send money to keep a roof over someone's head?" "I was there," she said, her voice tight. "I was the one who held his hand during chemo. I was the one who made sure he took his medications. I was the one who sat with him every single night. In a house I paid for!" The words came out louder than I intended. An older couple walking to their car glanced over, concerned. Estella's expression hardened. "Dad needed someone present, not an ATM machine. You chose your career over family. You don't get to be bitter about that now. I chose my career so I could afford to keep him in that house. Do you know how much his mortgage was? Do you have any idea what his medical bills looked like? That was your choice." She pulled her keys from her purse, dismissing me with the gesture. "Dad made his choice too. You need to respect that." She walked away, heels clicking on the asphalt. I stood there, shaking, trying to remember how to breathe. That night, lying in my apartment 1,200 miles away, I got a text from Mom. I hadn't heard from her since the funeral. "Don't make this about money. Your father made his choice. Respect it. Family is more important than being right." I stared at that message for 20 minutes before I realized what it meant. They'd already talked. Estella had already spun this into a story where I was the villain, The ungrateful daughter who couldn't accept that love means more than money. I opened my banking app. 12 years of transaction history. Every month, like clockwork. Wire transfer to Daniel Alvarez. $1,500. Sometimes more when emergencies hit. The car accident in 2019, $3,200. The new roof in 2021, $8,100. The hospital stay last winter, $4,800. I did the math. $127,000. I'd sent my father $127,000 over 12 years, and he'd left me a toolbox and a truck that needed a new transmission. The next morning, I called out of work for the first time in 3 years. I drove to Dad's house, Estella's house now, with my key still on my key ring. I needed to get my things. Some photo albums. My grandmother's wedding dress that Dad had promised me. Small things that suddenly felt desperately important. The house was empty. Estella had flown back to Phoenix, wouldn't return for another week to start sorting through everything. I walked through rooms that smelled like Dad's aftershave and old coffee. Every surface, every piece of furniture felt like a slap. That couch? I'd helped pay for it when the old one collapsed. The new dishwasher? Me? The fresh paint in the hallway? Me. I found myself in Dad's office, sitting at his old oak desk. The same desk where he used to pay bills every Sunday afternoon, humming along to whatever radio station he'd found. I opened the top drawer looking for nothing in particular. That's when I found the checkbook. It was old, one of those registers where you write down every transaction by hand. Dad had been old school that way, never trusted online banking completely. I flipped it open and my own name stared back at me. March 2015, from Catalina Mortgage, $1,840. April 2015, from Catalina Mortgage, $1,840. May 2015, from Catalina Property Tax, $2,100 page after page. Year after year, every payment I'd ever sent, documented in Dad's careful handwriting. He'd tracked it all. He knew exactly how much I'd given. He knew I'd paid his mortgage for a decade. He knew I'd covered every major expense, and he'd still chosen the daughter who'd stayed. I sat there with that checkbook in my hands, and something inside me cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice under weight, that sound before everything gives way. He knew, and he'd said, I just sent checks, like it was nothing. Like keeping him housed and fed and medically cared for was somehow less valuable than physical presence. I took photos of every page. Then I put the checkbook in my bag. If this was going to be a fight about who contributed what, I was going to have receipts. 3 weeks went by. I tried to go back to normal. Night shifts, terrible hospital coffee, the usual rhythm of work. But my phone kept lighting up with family group chat messages. They were planning what to do with Dad's house. Should Estella sell it, rent it out, move into it? I wasn't included in the conversation. I could see the messages. Someone had forgotten to remove me from the chat. But every time I tried to respond, my message wouldn't send. I'd been muted. Then I was removed entirely. A screenshot showed up in my DMs from my cousin Valentina. You need to see this. It was a conversation between Estella and our mom. Estella, she's just bitter. Let her cool off. Dad made the right choice. Mom, I worry about her. She seemed so angry at the reading. Estella, she'll get over it. She always does. She's the responsible one, remember? The responsible one. Like that was a joke. Like being responsible was something to laugh about. 2 days later, I got the Facebook notification. Estella had posted a photo of Dad's house, golden in the afternoon sunlight. So blessed to inherit Dad's beautiful home. He knew I was the one who truly cared. Family isn't about money, it's about presence. Grateful for the years I got to spend taking care of him. He taught me that showing up is what matters. Love you, Dad. The comments poured in. You deserve it. You sacrificed so much. Your dad knew who really loved him. Money can't buy the kind of care you gave him. I read every single comment. 47 of them, each one another knife between my ribs. Nobody knew. Nobody knew that Estella's sacrifice was possible because I paid for literally everything. Nobody knew that showing up meant living rent-free in a house someone else's paychecks maintained. She was rewriting history. And everyone believed her. I wasn't asking for the house. I wasn't asking for the money. I just wanted someone to say, "You kept him alive. You mattered." But instead, I got a will that erased 12 years like they never happened. That checkbook sat on my kitchen counter. Every morning, I'd see it while making coffee. Every night, I'd see it before bed. Dad's handwriting, recording my contributions with the precision of someone who knew exactly what he was receiving. He knew. He always knew. And that, somehow, made it worse. 1 month after the will reading, my phone rang. Estela. I almost didn't answer. Kat. Her voice was strained. "We need to talk." "About what?" "The house. The bills they're piling up. Property taxes due. Insurance renewal. The roof guy says there's leak damage that needs immediate attention. I didn't realize how expensive it is to own a house," I finished for her. Silence. Then, "I need help. Just temporarily. Until I figure things out." Something cold settled in my chest. "Help how? You've been helping Dad for years, right? Can you help me cover some of these costs? Just until I get everything organized?" I looked at that checkbook. 12 years of my life, documented in blue ink. "You earned it, remember?" My voice came out flat, calm. "Figure it out." "Kat, don't be like this. This is Dad's house. It's your house now. Dad made sure of that. He said you earned it because you stayed. So you earned the bills too." "Don't be petty." "Petty?" I laughed, and it sounded wrong even to me. "You want to know what's petty? Letting someone pay your father's bills for 12 years and then acting like they didn't care because they did it from a distance. I didn't know the full extent. You knew enough." I cut her off. "You knew enough to post on Facebook about how family isn't about money. So prove it. Take care of the house without my money. Show everyone that presence is what matters. The property tax alone is $8,400. "I know. I paid it for him 3 times. Another long silence. When she spoke again, the entitlement was gone. There was only panic. "I can't afford this. I'm going to lose the house." "Then sell it." "Kat, you earned it, Estella. Enjoy what you earned." I hung up. For the first time in a month, I slept through the entire night. But that wasn't the end. That was just the beginning. Because that checkbook, it was about to become Exhibit A. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make sure everyone knew exactly who paid for Dad's last comfortable years. And if Estella thought that Facebook post was the final word on what family means, she was about to learn a very expensive lesson about the difference between showing up and keeping the lights on. Because here's what nobody tells you about being the responsible one. Eventually, you have to decide whether you're responsible to people or responsible for them. And I was done being responsible for people who couldn't even admit I existed. I spent the next week gathering evidence like I was building a legal case. Maybe I was. I pulled 12 years of bank statements, organized them by year in color-coded folders, every wire transfer, every Venmo payment, every emergency check I'd overnight shipped when something broke down. The paper trail didn't lie, but I needed more than my own records. I needed witnesses, people who'd seen what I'd done, heard what Dad had said, people who could confirm I wasn't just rewriting history to make myself feel better. First stop, First National Bank, where Dad had done his banking for 30 years. I didn't have an appointment, but Patricia Herrera, the branch manager, recognized me immediately. "Catalina, I'm so sorry about your father. He was such a sweet man." She gestured to her office. "Come in, sit down. What can I do for you?" I explained the situation carefully, leaving out the anger, focusing on facts. "I'm trying to document my financial support of my father over the past 12 years. I know you can't share his account information, but I wondered if you remembered our arrangement." Patricia's expression shifted. Not quite pity, but something close to understanding. "Oh, honey, I remember. Your father came in every month like clockwork. He'd deposit your wire transfer and always, and I mean always, he'd say, 'My daughter Catalina keeps me afloat.' Those were his exact words." My throat tightened. "He said that?" "Every single month. Sometimes he'd joke about it." Catalina's paying my mortgage again. Or, I don't know what I'd do without that girl. She paused. I assumed you were in the will. Forgive me for saying so, but when I heard about the estate going entirely to your sister, I was surprised. Would you be willing to put that in writing? An affidavit? She didn't hesitate. Absolutely. Your father was clear about your contributions. If someone's trying to erase that, they need to hear the truth. Next, I drove to Dad's neighborhood. The house looked the same. American flag on the porch, rose bushes Mom had planted 20 years ago, the oak tree I'd climbed as a kid. But it felt different now, haunted maybe. Or just someone else's. Rodrigo Santos was trimming his hedge 3 doors down. He'd lived on this street longer than we had, watched me and Estella grow up. He saw me and waved. Catalina, I was hoping I'd see you. Wanted to pay my respects properly, not just at the funeral with all those people. We talked for a few minutes about Dad, about the neighborhood, about nothing important. Then I asked, Mr. Santos, did my dad ever talk to you about me? About my sister? He set down his hedge trimmers and wiped his forehead. Talk about you? Honey, he bragged about you constantly. My Catalina the nurse, he'd say. She makes sure I never worry about bills. He shook his head. Your sister, though. No offense, but he worried about her. Worried she couldn't manage money, couldn't handle responsibility. That's why... He stopped himself. That's why he left her everything? Rodrigo looked uncomfortable. He said something to me once, maybe a year ago. He said, Catalina's strong, she'll be fine no matter what, but Estella needs this house or she'll have nothing. The words hit like a physical blow. Dad hadn't left me out because I didn't matter. He'd left me out because he assumed I'd be okay, because being strong meant I didn't need anything, because my competence had made me disposable. Your sister visited maybe twice a year, Rodrigo continued. Christmas and his birthday, usually. Your dad would say, Estella shows up for holidays, Catalina shows up in my bank account. He caught himself. He meant it as a compliment. He was proud of you. Proud enough to leave me nothing. I think he made a mistake, Rodrigo said quietly. He thought he was protecting Estella. He didn't realize he was hurting you. I thanked him and gave him my number. If you'd be willing to write down what you just told me, I'd appreciate it. You planning to contest the will? I'm planning to make sure people know the truth. Back home, I spread everything out on my dining room table. Bank statements, the checkbook, Patricia's promised affidavit, Rodrigo's agreement to provide a statement. It still wasn't enough. I needed something more, something that would make the situation undeniable. I started going through old emails. Dad had been surprisingly good with email for someone his age. We'd corresponded regularly, especially during his chemo treatments. I searched for keywords, bills, mortgage, money, help. June 2019. Mija, I don't know how to thank you for covering the car repairs. You're saving my life here. November 2020. The property tax notice came. I know you said you'd handle it, but that's $8,100. That's too much. Are you sure? March 2022. Catalina, the hospital wants $4,800 for the pneumonia stay. Insurance didn't cover everything. I hate asking, but each email I'd responded the same way. Don't worry about it, Dad. That's what I'm here for. And each time he'd written back, you're the best daughter a father could ask for. Apparently, best daughter doesn't translate to daughter who gets anything in the will. Then I found the email that changed everything. It was buried in an old folder dated 2 years ago. Not from Dad, from his financial advisor, a man named Richard Chin. Mr. Alvarez, I've reviewed your estate plan as requested. I want to reiterate my concerns about leaving your entire estate to Estella without conditions or a trust structure. Based on our previous conversations about her financial challenges, I worry she may struggle to maintain the property. Have you considered splitting the assets, or at least ensuring Catalina receives acknowledgement of her contributions? Dad's response was short. Richard, I appreciate your concern. But Catalina is strong. She has her career, her own life. She'll understand. Estella needs this. She doesn't have what Catalina has. This is the right thing to do. I read that email 5 times. He'd been warned. Someone had explicitly told him this was a bad idea, that it would hurt me, that it wasn't fair, and he'd done it anyway, because I was strong, because I'd be fine, because my success meant I didn't deserve consideration. My phone rang. Estella again. Third time this week. Kat, please, I got the property tax bill. I got the insurance renewal. The roof guy says it's $15,000 for repairs or the leak will cause structural damage. I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't do this alone. You're not alone. You have your husband. Javier's income barely covers our apartment in Phoenix. We can't afford 2 mortgages, 2 sets of bills. I thought I could rent it out, but it needs too many repairs first. Estella, what do you want from me? Help. I want help. Isn't that what family does? The word family coming from her mouth was like a match to gasoline. You want to talk about family? Let's talk about family. Let's talk about how family means I paid Dad's mortgage for 10 years while you were living your life in Phoenix. Let's talk about how family means I covered every medical bill, every emergency, every unexpected expense while you showed up for Christmas dinner. Let's talk about how family means you inherited everything I built and then called me petty when I wouldn't keep paying for it. I didn't know. You knew enough. You knew Dad wasn't paying those bills himself on his retirement income. You knew someone was keeping that house afloat. You just didn't care who, as long as it wasn't you. Silence. Then, smaller. What do you want me to do? I want you to figure it out the way I've been figuring things out my entire adult life, without asking anyone else to fix it for you. I'm going to lose the house. Then you didn't earn it after all. I hung up. My hands were shaking. 2 days later, Mom called. I'd been expecting it. Catalina Maria, what is wrong with you? Your sister is drowning and you're standing there watching. I'm watching her face the consequences of inheriting a house she can't afford. Your father left her that house. With my money, Mom. Every brick, every pipe, every shingle, I paid for it. And nobody seems to remember that except me. Money isn't everything. Then why is Estella calling me begging for it? Mom didn't have an answer for that. There's going to be a family meeting, she said finally. At the house, this Saturday. Your uncles will be there. We're going to settle this properly. Settle what? Dad's will is final. Estella got everything. That's settled. We're going to discuss how we can help your sister keep the house. As a family. By we, you mean me. You want me to pay Estella's bills the way I paid Dad's. I want you to stop being selfish. That word, selfish. The ultimate weapon in the family arsenal. The thing you call someone when they stop sacrificing themselves for your convenience. I'll be there, I said. But you're not going to like what I have to say. Saturday came. I dressed carefully. Black slacks, white blouse, my nice watch. Professional, put together. I looked like someone who had her life under control. Someone strong. I brought a leather portfolio. Inside, every document I'd gathered, every bank statement, every email, every piece of evidence. The checkbook sat on top like a crown jewel. The house was full when I arrived. Mom and Estella in the living room. Estella's husband Javier on the couch, arms crossed. Uncle Felipe and Uncle Martin at the dining room table. Everyone looked grim, like we were gathering for another funeral. Thank you for coming, Mom said stiffly. Wouldn't miss it. Everyone sat. I remained standing. Mom started. We're here because Estella is facing financial difficulties with the house your father left her. As a family, we need to find a solution. Uncle Felipe jumped in. Kat, you're doing well. You're a nurse, good income. What's $20,000 to you? You could help your sister through this rough patch. 20,000? I looked at Estella. Last week you said 15 for the roof. Now it's 20? Property tax is due too, she mumbled. 8,400, I said. I know, I paid it 3 times. Javier leaned forward. Look, this is simple. You're punishing your sister because you're jealous. That's petty. Just help her keep the house. The word petty again. I was learning to hate that word. I'm not punishing anyone, I said calmly. I'm simply respecting Dad's wishes. He said Estella earned this house. So she earned the bills too. Unless you're saying Dad was wrong? The room went silent. Because if Dad was wrong about Estella earning the house, maybe he was wrong about other things too. I opened my portfolio and pulled out the checkbook. set it on the coffee table between us like evidence in a trial. This is Dad's personal checkbook, the one he kept in his desk drawer. He tracked every payment I ever sent him. I flipped it open. March 2015. From Catalina Mortgage, $1,840. April 2015. From Catalina Mortgage, $1,840. June 2017. From Catalina, hospital bill, $3,200. I kept reading, page after page, month after month, year after year. My voice stayed steady, clinical, like I was reading lab results. Uncle Martin reached for the checkbook. I handed it to him, watched his expression change as he flipped through the pages. This is 12 years of payments. 12 years, I confirmed. $127,000 to be exact. Mom's face had gone pale. He didn't tell me about this. He didn't have to. You knew someone was paying his bills. His retirement income was $32,000 a year. His mortgage alone was $22,000. The math wasn't hard. I pulled out the bank statements next, stacked them on the table. Here's every wire transfer, every Venmo payment, every overnight check when something broke and needed immediate replacement. Uncle Felipe was looking at the statements, his earlier confidence gone. You paid his mortgage for a decade? Mortgage, medical bills, car repairs, property tax, insurance premiums, emergency home repairs, everything. I looked at Estella. Tell them what Dad said when you stayed home while I worked 16-hour shifts to send money. Estella's eyes filled with tears. He said you were taking care of him. And what did you do? I kept him company. Company. I let the word hang in the air. You kept him company in a house I paid for, eating food I helped buy, watching cable I maintained. And when he died, he left you everything because presence matters more than sacrifice. Javier stood up. Look, Estella didn't know the full extent. She knew enough to claim she earned Dad's house because she cared for him. She knew enough to post on Facebook about how family isn't about money. So let me be clear. She cared for a man whose bills I paid. That's not earning something. That's benefiting from someone else's labor. My phone, sitting on the table, lit up with a notification. Perfect timing. I picked it up and played the voicemail on speaker. Hi, Catalina. This is Patricia Herrera from First National Bank. I wanted to confirm I've completed the affidavit you requested. It documents your father's consistent acknowledgement of your financial support over the past 12 years. I'll email it to you today, but please call if you need anything else. The message ended. Everyone stared. That's Dad's bank manager, I explained. She's providing an affidavit stating that Dad told her every single month that I was keeping him afloat. Every month. For 12 years. I pulled out a printed email next. This is from Rodrigo Santos, Dad's neighbor. He's written a statement confirming that Dad frequently acknowledged my financial support and worried about Estella's ability to manage money. He's also confirmed that Estella visited approximately twice per year. Mom was crying now. Why didn't you tell us? I did, every time I sent money. But you all decided that Estella's physical presence mattered more than my financial presence. You decided that showing up for holidays was worth more than keeping the lights on. I pulled out one more document, the big one. I'd been saving it. There's something else, something I found in Dad's records. I unfolded the paper slowly, letting the tension build. When Dad refinanced the house in 2018, he needed a co-signer. His credit wasn't great after the medical bills. So he asked me. I held up the mortgage document, showed them the signature line. I'm listed as co-signer on this house, which means I'm legally tied to this property. If Estella defaults on the mortgage, it destroys my credit. The bank can come after me for payment. Estella's face drained of color. What does that mean? It means this house isn't just your inheritance. It's my legal liability, and I'm not going to let your inability to maintain it ruin my financial future. The room erupted, everyone talking at once. Uncle Felipe trying to understand the legal implications. Mom asking why Dad never told her. Javier arguing that this changed everything. I raised my voice. Here's my offer. You have 3 options, Estella. Only 3. The room quieted. Option 1. You sell the house. Proceeds get split 50-50. The mortgage is about $140,000 remaining. The house is worth roughly $380,000. That's $240,000 in equity. You get $120,000, I get $120,000. That covers about what I put in, and you walk away with enough for a down payment somewhere else. That's not fair, Javier started. Option 2, I continued, ignoring him. You refinance in your own name. You pay me $60,000, half the equity, and you get me removed as co-signer. Then the house is entirely yours, with all the bills that come with it. I can't afford. Option 3, you do nothing. You default on the mortgage because you can't afford it. The bank forecloses. My credit gets destroyed, and I sue you for damages and lost equity. Then everyone gets nothing except legal bills. The silence was absolute. Estela looked at Javier. Javier looked at the floor. Uncle Martín was still flipping through the checkbook, shaking his head. You can't be serious, Mom whispered. I'm completely serious. Dad left Estela a house she can't afford, built on money she didn't contribute, secured by my signature. That's not an inheritance. That's a trap. And I'm done being the safety net for people who think I don't matter. I stood, gathered my documents back into the portfolio. You have 2 weeks to decide. After that, I'm filing papers to protect my interest in the property. Talk to a lawyer if you don't believe me. But I'm not bluffing. Uncle Martín spoke up, his voice quiet. Catalina, you have every legal right to do this. I know. Mom stood, reached for my arm. Please, let's work something out. There has to be another way. You had 12 years to work something out, 12 years to acknowledge what I was doing, to say thank you, to make sure Dad's will reflected reality. You chose silence. Now I'm choosing myself. I walked to the door, turned back one last time. Dad said Estela earned this house, but I earned something too, the knowledge that my sacrifices were real, even if nobody wanted to admit it. And I'm not going to let anyone erase that again, not even family. The door closed behind me with a soft click. Through the window, I could see them all sitting in stunned silence, that checkbook still open on the coffee table. 12 years of my life written in blue ink, finally visible, finally undeniable, finally mine to claim.